They thought they were building a utopia. Instead, they were building their own grave. Welcome to Facility 3826, the jewel of the alternate reality USSR, where every facet of life is better. Robots handle all of the manual labor jobs, leaving humans free to enjoy life and improve their perfect world. Unfortunately for them, this perfect world is one that they will never leave. Robots have turned on their human counterparts and violently took control of the facility. Welcome to Atomic Heart, an FPS RPG from Mundfish that sends you into the mysterious Facility 3826 to investigate why this large manufacturing plant suddenly went silent. Now, I'm going to cover every bit of information that's been released so far, which honestly has not been a ton. But anyway, you'll be prepared to take on the horrors that are awaiting for you in Atomic Heart. So when it comes to the world of Atomic Heart, you're looking at a vast area of land that spans from the Arctic to the north to the all-time mountain in the south, with outposts, underground facilities, and lots of enemies, secrets, and stuff to discover between. Now, we know about locked doors that we need to hack into, puzzles to solve, and boss arenas to conquer, but you'll also be able to get around by train, truck, and any other mode of transportation that you find. Now, here are some quick facts about the campaign before we get into it. So 1, the campaign comes in 3 difficulties: easy, normal, and hard. It'll feature 2 different endings. Now, there aren't decisions that you make along the way to get to these different endings. Instead, at the end of the game, the developer said that you're given a choice that'll lead to 2 different endings. And lastly, you can choose to play the campaign or explore and come back later. There isn't a requirement to stay on the rails in this game. Now, through the 25 to 40 hour campaign, you're going to play as P3, an experienced soldier who is close friends with Dr. Sechenov, the man who discovered polymer and helped build the world of robots that we're exploring. Accompanying P3 is his power glove and its AI, Charles. Now, this AI will help point things out, provide insight into the world, and give you hints on how to complete puzzles or solve particularly difficult encounters. Now, the world of Atomic Heart is all connected by a network known as the Collective. This serves as a hive mind where all of the robots can speak with each other no matter the distance. This also serves as a game mechanic that you'll experience throughout the campaign. When you're fighting against robots, your alert level may rise, which causes more enemies to begin spawning near you. Now, I think this is like the wanted level in Grand Theft Auto, where the more damage and ruckus you cause, the higher this level will rise, and because of that, more powerful enemies will begin to spawn to, quote, neutralize the threat. Think of this something similar. Now, this hasn't been confirmed, but it does appear that there are ways to lower this alert level as well. You can either defeat the waves of robots and then distance yourself from the newly spawned ones, or you can destroy cameras that are placed around the location because those cameras will add to your alert level as well. Finding, crafting, and upgrading weapons seems to be a cornerstone feature of Atomic Heart. Here, you'll be able to utilize 12 base types of weapons and upgrade them by crafting components to increase their effectiveness. And not all weapons are going to be effective against all enemies, so you need to use the right tool for the right job. So the weapons we have so far are the Railgun, which is a powerful electric weapon that emits a high damaging blast that can split enemies at medium range. The Fat Boy, which is a multi-aiming rocket complex that is the standard for taking out tanks. This thing can fire grenades, or after some tweaking, can fire rockets to take down any machine or mutant that stands in your way. Then we have the Dominator, a first-of-its-kind weapon that shoots electrified polymer that will explode when it reaches the target, dealing significant amounts of damage. Next up is the Kalash, which is basically an AK-47 with upgrades done by the Collective. This weapon quickly became the worldwide standard after its introduction due to its powerful ammo and reliability, but unfortunately, it possesses low accuracy and is extremely heavy. Then we have the PM, a pistol with high stopping power thanks to polymer rounds that fragment on contact, and an improved trigger system that allows for more shots to be fired without the loss of accuracy. This weapon is both effective against personnel and machines. Next up is the shotgun. Now, the shotgun is going to be similar to the Kalash, where this shotgun is a basic version of the weapon, having been upgraded by scientists within Facility 3826. Just like the Kalash, this weapon rose quickly through the ranks as the go-to tool for dealing with machine and personnel problems. Next, we have the Fox, which is a brutal hand axe that starts out as a sharpened piece of airplane propeller, but with certain upgrades, you can turn it into a dynamic melee weapon that'll smash anything that it comes in contact with. Another one is the Pashtet. This is a simple yet effective cleaver-like weapon that'll cut through flesh, metal, and composite alloy with ease. Continuing our melee trend here, we have the Snowball, which is a melee weapon that has 6 blades affixed to a motor that allows you to both blend up any enemies that get close, or you can swing it like a mace to deal large amounts of damage. Documentation says this is a particularly useful weapon against groups of enemies. Then we have the Vezdochka, which is the Swiss Army knife of Collective 1.0. This weapon features 2 spinning saw blades that'll shred anything that it touches, including both metal and composite alloy. The Electro was originally developed as a non-lethal sidearm for astronauts. So you're able to shoot out energy pulses to take out sensitive electronics, which, as you know, should probably help greatly against machines. And lastly, we have the Swede, which is a brutally efficient axe that some believe may be named after the legendary fireman Olof Solveig from Sweden. Now, Olof helped extinguish a famous gas fire. However, this weapon wasn't his particular weapon. Instead, it was named Swede because just like Olof extinguished the gas fire, this weapon extinguishes enemies. Now, all of these weapons can be upgraded with components that you find out in the world. So for instance, here's an example of the PM, the handgun, as its base type versus what it looks like after some upgrades. You can see the extended magazine, the new barrel and body, and here is another example to show the base shotgun and an upgraded one. So as you can see, you can drastically alter the look, and I'm assuming the performance of each weapon to make them more effective in certain situations. Now you might be asking, where do we get these parts and components? How do we actually upgrade these things? Well, the parts and components all come from destroyed robots, furniture, and by scavenging through containers. Now luckily, unlike other RPGs out there, you don't have to manually click on each container to open it. Instead, Charles will simply vacuum up everything for you, and because crafting materials don't have any weight, you can carry as much as you would like. Now when it comes to upgrading the components that you already have equipped, we do have a screenshot of what that looks like here. Now, this is the cassette module for the Snowball weapon, but you can see other areas where they can make upgrades as well. Things like your handle, crushing blow, ram attack, default head. Now, the options are different for ranged weapons. You have things like hand grip, magazine, buttstock, optical system. So there is a difference between the 2 weapon types. Now, going back to that cassette module, what they have here is a plus 20% elemental damage upgrade on deck, and you can upgrade it by using these crafting components here. Now there are 4 upgrade levels for this particular piece, but there are still a few questions to ask. Can we change this component? Is it always an increased elemental damage? If we can change components, can we carry over our invested materials? So a lot of things to find out, a lot of things to see once we get our hands on the game. Now, crafting does follow a similar method when you're creating a brand new weapon. First, you need to discover the recipe, which, I'll be honest, we don't know about that yet. And then once you have that recipe, you can consume crafting materials to actually go create the weapon. Now, looking at this crafting screen, we can see improvement at the top, which I'm guessing is probably for upgrades, or maybe it's something else, not sure. Then we have warehouse distribution. Now, I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's like, here's some random weapons that are like a surplus that every now and then you can choose from. I'm not entirely sure, but I would love to hear some of your guys' guesses in the comment section. So be sure to drop something down there. Let's figure out what this warehouse distribution thing is. Now, underneath that lineup, you have weapons, consumables, and ammo. So we will be able to craft all of those as well. But like upgrades, there are some questions that we need to answer. So for instance, will these crafted weapons be their base type, or will they have random upgrades? Will we be able to save a recipe or a blueprint and then craft that exact weapon and all of its upgrades again? Just like the last time, we'll have to wait and see, but these are all questions that I would love to see answered. Now, the last part of crafting comes in the form of Nora, which is a vending machine that can be used to create ammo and disassemble items. But it can also add elemental effects to ammo and weapons like we see in this screenshot here. The developer did mention that elemental effects will have big advantages in combat depending on the enemy. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that next. Combat in Atomic Heart is chaotic. You need to blend melee and ranged weaponry in order to overcome enemies, but not all weapons are created equal for each enemy. Robots are going to take increased damage from electricity and ice, while mutants are going to take damage from fire. So being able to balance your inventory and pick the right weapon is going to be key to making life easier. So each weapon has an alternative attack that can also be used. We've seen this in gameplay where players were shooting ammo and then suddenly unleashing a lightning blast. Now, we haven't had any explanation as to how this actually works, but either way, it is nice to know that each weapon can be somewhat dual purpose. Okay, so let's get back to the actual enemies and talking about that. So Atomic Heart features 10 unique enemy types, and then there are variations of those types that you'll encounter. You have sort of the run-of-the-mill robot that's going to kick, punch, fire laser beams, do sort of like a lightning blade smash thing that's going to fly at you. So you have that. Now there are others like the Baylash, and they're going to have tons of different ways to hurt you. It can climb, leap, has lasers, a crushing attack, much more. They built this thing to be based off of a chimpanzee frame, and we all know how dangerous those things can be to humans. So this thing is just built to destroy you. But the thing is, robots aren't the only thing you have to worry about. There are also bioengineered plants known as sprouts. Now, sprouts are going to search for a body, and once they find one, they're going to inhabit it and mutate it. Now, this sounds a lot like the Flood from Halo, a ton like the Flood from Halo. And these mutants are absolutely heavy hitters. They're constantly rushing forward in attack mode, so you're going to have to basically defend against a Zerg attack once you come in contact with any of these mutants. Now, outside of the mutants, there are also things known as Cutias. I hope I'm saying that right, Cutias. And these are basically bundles of sinew that'll summon sprouts, and according to the developers, you do not want these two things to fuse together. Bad things will happen. Keep them separated, destroy the sprouts, and slowly whittle down those Cutias. So while we haven't seen everything that Atomic Heart brings to the table in the form of enemies, we do know that we do have some tough battles ahead of us. But luckily, we have our Power Glove to help even the playing field. So the Power Glove and Charless are a unique combo that's going to give powers to use against the enemies of Atomic Heart. You can summon shields, you can send out a torrent of frost, you can unleash chain lightning, you can pick up groups of enemies and slam them down using telekinesis, and you can do something called a polymer throw, which we haven't seen that yet. And all of these can be upgraded and altered as you level up and earn neuropolymer, which we aren't sure where to find that or if that's the skill point that they have. I'm not entirely sure, but it is nice to see some form of progression here. Now, there are also character upgrades you can perform as well. So we see here you have character energy, you have another entry for just character, which I'm assuming will be things like health, stamina, maybe attack speed, crit, not entirely sure. But like I said, it is nice to see some progression and you can actually get some builds together. So lastly, let's talk about release information and specs. So if any of this looks interesting at all to you, you can check out Atomic Heart when it releases on February 21st for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. This will also be a day one Game Pass game. So if you have that subscription, you can check it out there. So guys, what do you think about Atomic Heart? It's been under development for what seems like forever, and while it has fallen off my radar over the years, I was really glad to see it resurface last year. I felt like, man, I saw a little snippet of it, I was hooked, and then it just disappeared, and I was like, well, that's probably gonna be vaporware, and then all of a sudden it shows back up, and it's like, yes, let's go. So, very curious to hear everyone's thoughts. And if you want more action RPG and FPS content, please check out some additional videos. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.